Hello everyone. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Confirm.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So
Yes,
let's
ma'am.
another 5 minutes, then we will start the session. Thank you for your patience.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am.
Hello, everybody.
Hi Gaurav.
Hello.
Let's
I'm so sorry
let
for being late for a minute or
no
less.
no. I hope you can see me now.
I can, and if you can allow me a minute, because I was just on a call from last 2 hours speaking continuously. I just want to grab a glass of cup of water for me, and in a 30 seconds I can come back.
Sure, we will take another 5 minutes so that
Oh,
everyone can
awesome!
join you, and then we will start the session. So you can take your
Great,
time.
great. And I guess by the
Okay.
time you can request everybody to turn on their cameras so we can easily see each other, because we can see we don't have done the makeup and everyone. So I hope we had an exciting September, like so September coming up. Okay,
Sure,
right.
sure,
Okay, okay. I'll just back in a minute. Yeah.
sure.
Okay, team. I'm back.
guess we can start the session now. People are just joining in, so
Sure, no problem. So we'll take another couple of minutes, right?
sure. We will take 2 or 3 minutes more and then we can start the session.
Sure. I'm there, no problem.
Okay, so there is a delay of 7 minutes, so I think we can start the session now. I hope I'm perfectly audible to everyone. Can anyone confirm that?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, you are.
Yes, ma'am,
Okay.
you're audible.
So first of all, good evening, everyone. To Source Timber. It is the first episode of the series. Please mute your mics. Okay, so it is the first event of the series, Source Timber, A Way Towards Open Source. This series will be perfect for any beginner who wants to start their journey in open source. We will be talking about open source, and also you will be getting a chance to contribute to real-time projects. So stay tuned for that. Before moving forward, let me just introduce myself. I hope there is no echo issue now. Can you confirm, Vaishnavi? Okay, so before moving forward, let me just introduce myself. My name is Shruti Sharma. I'm a third year IT undergraduate pursuing BTech from Dronacharya College of Engineering. I am the Google Developer Student Club lead at my campus for the year 2021 to 2022. I'm also a member of Women Tech Makers India. I'm working as a web development intern at Apptom, and currently I'm experimenting in cloud technologies as well as in MLAI. So about this session is named as Introduction to Open Source, and the name specifies everything, right? So we have Mr. Gaurav Sharma with us, Ms. Ashika S. Bhattacharya, Mr. Shivansh Tiwari with us, and they will be sharing their ideas, their experiences in this open source world, and they will be sharing their experiences in communities as well, like MLH, GSOC, an organization like that. So stay tuned for that. Now I will hand over the mic to Tanmay. He is a core team member of GDSC DC. So yeah, that's all.
Hello everyone, my name is Tanmay Srivastava. I'm the GDSC outreach team lead for this year, and I'm a second year student here in Dronacharya College of Engineering. Now, before we begin the session, there are some rules that all the audience have to follow. First of all, you have to keep your mic mute at all the time during the point of the session. Second, if you want to ask any questions or queries, you have to make sure that you type them down below in the chat box. Third, no misbehavior of any kind will be tolerated. You will be thrown out of the session if there is found to be one. And fourth, it is a request on the behalf of GDSC that you do not start calling us or texting us in any manner during the time of the session. Now it is time to introduce our mentor of this session, Gaurav Sharma. He's an associate solution architect at Red Hat and a YouTuber by passion. You can check out his YouTube channel, Cheers with Gaurav, right now, because it is a very good channel and it really has some good informative content. Over to you, Gaurav.
Hey, Tanmay, means I was not aware that I was able to put some good content. Means
No,
thank
I
you so
actually
much for
checked out
saying.
that playlist and I really found that resume building wala part really useful.
Yeah, means that I'm coming out again in October, means doing the live analysis of all the resume. You know, yes, you said that yes, by profession, I work as an associate solution architect, where my job role is basically to motivate the partners of Red Hat to do the business for Red Hat. And that's the reason, I see all the partners as a student of mine. I need to build down a market strategy for them, that how they do the business. On the other side, when you talk about passion, yes, I'm a YouTuber. That raised me because I was not worried about that. Okay, there are few people like me who didn't find a chance to get and interact with these people. And
Okay.
when Shruti reached out to me for doing the open source session, I said yes. Reason being, open source teaches you those values.
Mhm.
Like, if you ask me what was my first interaction with open source, I was a failure at every point of my life. How many of you in the forum has 12th percentage lesser than 60? Can you
It's
text
not
me? Or
less than 60, but I would say it's hovering about that,
no, no,
around
no,
that.
we want the lesser than 60. Matlab, we are from India na? So everybody knows about, like, if you are lesser than 60 you come in the second division. So I'm targeting my people. No one is there, only I am. Means, to be honest, if you ask me, yes, I was the one who has scored 59.8 in 12th standard. No IITs, no IIEEE, no tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 city college. You just go below to the tier 3 city college because you don't have the uh, marks that can help you in getting the admission. One. Second, whenever you're getting admission in any college for that matter, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, the minimum requirement is 60% in 12th or 60% throughout, right? Even for TCS, Pool Drive, Accenture, Wipro, you require straight away 60%. Day one of your college, my dur wala cousin said me this part in front of my dad. He won't be able to get the job. Reason is his 60% is not there. Well, that created me more curious and anger inside me that, I'll crack the IIT, I'll do the MTech. First semester, back. Second semester, back. Third semester, backlogs. Fourth, fifth, sixth. Means out of the 8 semester, first 6 semester, I have seen only backlogs. But at the same time, in second semester, I fell in love with Linux. And I started learning about what is this open source world is all about. I was just sitting and I was sipping up a glass of water. But again, I was sitting somewhere and I realized that, water is everywhere. Right from our childhood, we are listening that 70% of Earth is covered up with the water. Water has a universal formula, H2O. Why the hell I'm paying for it? The Bisleri and everything. If open source is free, then why I'm paying for it? Water is also free. They should sell it for free. That's where my biggest myth of life got cleared, which was this open source free doesn't mean no cost. It means freedom to use it. You have a freedom to use it. So the biggest part of open source is that it doesn't look to your religion, to your caste, to your numbers, to your individuality. It gives you a freedom to choose the things that you want to do. And that's where I understood one sentence that says, my code is open. You should be open to explore. You are a coder. You get stuck. what you are going to do? You will go to Google, type the things, and get a document. Somebody has written that document. Don't you think that is a contribution? Yes, it is. Even if you are able to redirect to that particular site, that was done because of some of the right implementation on the web server. That was done because of the right system administration or a system engineer. Even when you landed up, you were able to see a graphic that was done because of a designer. Or let it be means everything taken care. What do you think when it comes to an individual person, like the team of GDG? They have like organized this event for you. They are helping to spread the words. That is exactly an open source things for you. Means an open source is something where you can spread the word, you can write the documentation, you can do the design, you can create the code, you can write the code, you can create your own project, you can share your project, other people can contribute to it. Having said that, it's your decision that you want to make it like a business centric or free of cost for everyone. Now this is what my open source story was. Like I was not a coding means after C, or whenever I used to hear this term C, I always wonder why not A or B. Let us teach first A and B. Or to be honest, everybody knows in my circle, after mosquitoes, if I can kill something, is going to be this coding. But mosquitoes are here to survive, so does the coding. So I respect the coding part, that okay, I cannot do much, but what else I can do? I can help the people to understand more and more. I can create the path for them. I can do promote them that system administration can also do the open source word. Spread the word. At least you can speak in front of someone and guide it. Nothing is like you can say you cannot learn. You need a right mentor or you need a right coach in front of you to do the things. That's what my thing was. And then I started discovering that why people are facing the challenges. Half of the people think that open source is something which is freely available, but where to contribute, how I can contribute to it. I understood that okay, people are facing a challenge that they don't know how to contribute and where to contribute. And then I realized that you need to have certain thing in your hand to contribute. For advice to all of you people, very first thing, that if you think that you want to be an open source person, start learning about version control system. Even before learning the coding or DSA, I would highly recommend you all go ahead and start learning about the version control system. Git is one of the most popular one. Again, Apache Server Version, Mercurial, Monotone, Bazaar, CVS, many others are there. Just go and explore at least one of it. At least one of it. Git being the most popular, please start with it. Start learning the basics of Git, because at the end of the day, your objective is to get the code and keep it going. So what to do with this code? How you're going to get this code? A public platform where you can share it. So Git is that ultimate destination for you. Now you understand about Git, you parallelly start working on your coding part or any language for that matter. How I can contribute? I have the code, I have the knowledge, how I can contribute. The best advice would be get started with your beginners issues. Every single people, a person, an individual, an organization who kick off their like careers in the open source space, they always leave these beginners issues. These two websites I highly recommend, upforgrabs.net and issueshub.io. These two websites are so easy to get connect to. You just go select your like expertise, like talking about JavaScript or Ruby or HTML, even CSS, C, Java, Go, Python, R, whatever you want to. Just go. You have the clear guidelines, you have the projects running. They will also tell you how you can get the project locally at your system. Then just simply try to resolve that issue. Once you resolve it, reply back to the project maintainer that hey, I was able to resolve that issue. These small steps, don't think on a big project that I'll clone the Git and I can start doing it. And that's the reason the programs like Hacktober and many others give you this freedom to merge your PRs and PR is nothing but the pull request that you're going to do from it. So these beginners issues can easily help you to do good on that side. Also, if you are beginners and you have certain knowledge on it, please go ahead and start talking about these website. Awesome for beginners, up for grabs and issues, how I already talked about. First timers only or good first issues. Or even if you are not going to these website, I highly recommend, if you want to create a strong impact on your profile, if whatever you are contributing to the project, start searching for good first issues. These are very good. Means I always recommend to the students, I haven't done it, but this is something that one can keep it in the practice. Also, when you have conquered these small issues, the first issues or something like that, you can start feeling more comfortable about your contribution. Some green checks on the GitHub profile will be there, and then you can just find more open source project with these two programs, Code Triage and 24 Pull Request. Just go and start searching about these good issues or good first issues, or like the first timers only. These will give you that confidence that if you're looking for a bigger project, how you can easily get started with it. And getting started is always tough. Getting started is always tough. Reaching to the end goal is very easy, right? So these websites will help you to kick off those careers when you're trying to search that ray of hope, that how I can be the contributors. Then I have been like saying all to my forums and everywhere that, your network is your net worth. That ultimately your network is your net worth. How well your network, your peers groups are ultimately going to decide your ultimate reach or ultimate strategy. These are some of the very famous open source contests that you can take part. Even if you don't get select, even if you're not able to crack them, at least you will have an idea that what to prepare for. Like Google Summer of Code, I know many of you must be aspiring to be a person who gets selects at Google Summer of Code. What if you're not? At least you have multiple projects in front of you that you can start discovering about. There are others program like Ruby, Google Summer of Code, Outreach is there. Linux Foundation has started new thing. Linux kernel mentorship program is there. Red Hat open source contest is also going to run in few days. Girl Script Summer of Code is there. Unfortunately, Google Coding now has stopped. But yes, all these names are there in front of you. This will give you n number of ideas that what is trending in the market. You can network with a lot of people, the speakers, the mentors, build a connection with them, reach out to them with an open heart that, I'm interested in looking for this opportunity. Can you guide me? Can you help me? What I need to learn, how I need to structure it? And yes, open source people are always welcoming the questions. They are always there to help you that, okay, how we can do it. That is there. So I always encourage you that, these are the programs that you should always participate in. Go and build your network strong, because these programs will give you an idea. Let's say if you are a Java developer, how the people are thinking about the Java technology in terms of creating projects. If you are a Python person, how and what kind of Python projects are there. In the beginning, we heard from our host that, she is interested in data science and AI and ML. So what is the use cases that industry is trying to solve? These all things, your all question will be answered in these open source contests. So just go and participate in these open source contests. Having said that, this is something which I have always believed, that how you can contribute to these programs, how you can get select. There are a lot of ways, like documentation is there, designing, research, you can help in researching some of the projects. You can help them to spread the words. Coding, you can create your own project. You can create the alternatives of commercial software. You can also contribute to the existing projects. Multiple ways to contribute. Don't limitize yourself that, you only know, you don't know coding and you cannot, hence you cannot contribute. Absolutely no. There are a lot of ways other to contribute also. Like even for, I can give you one example, that there are some kernel test days are there. Testing, quality assurance is there. So all projects which are enterprise accepted, they need quality assurance, quality checks. You can also participate in those testing way. Like I used to test the kernel for Fedora. So on base machine, on virtual machines, on cloud, on IoT device, I used to install those machines and check whether it is working fine or not. Nowhere coding is required. So that is also a valid contribution to the project. So it totally depends on one, how you want to contribute and how you are eager and passionate about your skill sets. I'm good at system administration. I opted the system admin profile. So that is there. Now, before and the most important part that you start off your open source journey, there are always some of the open source etiquettes that you need to follow. Whenever you are trying to contribute to a project, there will be always a documentation. Read it properly. Always look for the existing issues before opening up a new one. Like you curiously started off working in an open source project and you find out an issue and you immediately document it and you created another issue. Thing is, if you have found that problem, you might be the first one, you might be not. If you are not, then somebody else has already created a issue on that part. Why don't you go and check it out? Read that part, that okay, this was the same issue I experienced. If you are able to see that your both way of approaching it is exactly the same, then okay, don't create a new, just put down a comment into it. Otherwise, in that same comment, mention your comment also, that I also face the same issue, but this is the way I approach to it. And whenever you're reporting a bug or creating an issue, provide as much as information you can. Write down the steps you followed, take the screenshots of the outcome, and give the best information from your side that you can. Always, whenever you are contributing to a project, there are always some guidelines that you need to follow. Please do follow it. Last but not the least, means these three things are, I always remember that whenever you have addressed a bug, whenever you have put down a comment in the existing project, be patient, be empathetic and understanding that somebody is waiting for you. Somebody is doing the work on his or her own wish, because open source is not paying them. Be in a collaborative approach, be in cooperative nature, and always say thanks, that okay, you at least acknowledge me, right? So these are some of the open source etiquettes that I always ask my team to follow it up and do the things for you. Now, one thing is there which I would love to show you. Just give me a minute if I can pull it off. Yeah, this is something. Okay. Everybody knows about like in these software terms, we keep on talking about open source, that you have your source code, you share it with the other people improve the source code, and you have ultimately the vastly improved code base. I started this discussion that when I saw the water for the first time, and I that clicked my head that water is also freely available, then why we are charging or why we are paying to Bisleri, Aquafina, and other parts. Similar way, there will be a lot of open source software which are available. Their source code is open, but you might need to pay for it. Thing is, when it comes to open source software, there is a business strategy attached to it. There is a license, there is a proper agreement between the vendor that source code is open, but I'm not going to sell you the compiled program. And if you want the compiled program, still I'm not going to like share you the compiled program. I'm going to share you the final product, and for that you have to pay for it. Like H2O is the universal formula of water, the source code. Over here, it was an open source project or a software where I have a business strategy to it. I'll take the source code, add some flavors to it, and I'll create a compiled program of it. The result, I'm going to share it with you, and you have to pay for me if you want to use it. Bisleri, Aquafina, or Evoquus, Evan, everybody is using that way. So free open source software is software where you need not to pay the community, that okay, this is there, you enjoy it. Open source software are the software which has the business strategy aligned to it. And for that, vendor decides whether they need to pay, whether you need to charge, or whether you need not to charge about it. So I hope that makes sense to every one of you. Any questions still here? Anything that I can help you in understanding more? Anyone? No questions?
If you have any questions, write them down in the chat box, please.
Raghav is saying, I don't understand Git. Okay, my first question would be, who created Git? What was the reason that Git came into the picture? What do you think?
So that a team can work on a project.
Who created Git first? Who created Git? Linus Torvald. What was the other contribution Linus Torvald gave to the world? Linux. What is Linux? Means we are not going to talk about Linux, but yeah,
Operating system.
no. Means definitely it is one of the use, but yeah. Is it only for project submission and the making profile and open source project? So to be honest, when we talk about Linux, first of all, say Linux is kernel. It is not an OS or something open source project or whatever. Linux is a kernel. Yes, the project was an open source project that was started by Linus Torvald. Now, operating system is one of the way to address the like Linux project. So Linus Torvald, when started Linux in 1970s, and he just made it public to everyone, and everybody started contributing to that project. It was becoming very much difficult for him to trace the changes, that who has made the change, when this contribution was made, was made upstream, if there was some valid request that he was accepting, and now he or she has to get a proper reward for, or there was a change sorry, or if there was a change that was accommodated, when it got accommodated, all those parts. I believe you all in the college must have done this, that whenever you are working on a project, you create one.txt, then one underscore final.txt, one underscore final underscore review.txt. You share it with your friend made some changes. Now, how you are going to determine these changes? If you have to create a submission of another project, then you name it with your name, like Gaurav underscore the section name and other part and .txt file, something like that. So it was very difficult. And also, let's say when I created a project and I have to share it with you, you have to download one for the entire part. Like for once, you have to download the entire project. Then secondly, I made some changes and I re-emailed to you that, Gaurav, I have made these changes. Why don't you download it back again? Now I have to again download it. If it is a file of 1 or 2 MB, it is fine. But what about the inside data? Let's say I have a code of like 10,000 lines and you made a change in 932 line. How I'm going to understand? So for that, they created a process, a methodology called Git, which can help you to clone the project. Now, this cloned project, you can start working on it. You submit your project that, okay, these are the changes that I understood and I want to submit it back again. You submit that project again. The other person reviews it. If it is right, like, okay, I can like simply brought back the things again, or it is good to go, then they will merge it. The owner of that project will merge it because they know what I have done or why I have created this project. Secondly, it is becoming easy to track the changes. Who has committed this change? If I need to roll it back, how it can be easily done. And that's why Git is so popular, because it is again an open source project. Secondly, Git also has this thing called GitHub, which is GUI based. So yeah. So that was something is there. Yes, Pratham, you mentioned about comparing the hash value. Yes, that where you're like, there was a change, you pull it back again. All those changes will not directly going to commit until unless you provide the right answer to that. And when it comes to comparison, yes, hash value is always compared, that what are the changes. I'll need to just pull the same changes.
So could you brief us about the coming Hacktoberfest? Like what will it be and all?
Yeah. To be honest, Hacktoberfest means I haven't gone through the terms and condition this time, but what I
Okay,
can,
so
yeah,
Gaurav, sorry for
yeah,
interrupting you
please.
in between. The thing is, we have three events in this series. The
Oh,
second event
yeah,
that is scheduled tomorrow, we will clear everything related to Git CLI as well as related to GitHub. And the third event will be about Hacktoberfest, mainly because Hacktoberfest will start from 1st October, right? So don't worry about that. We will cover everything. Just be a part of this series till the end, and you will get some value from it for sure. So, yeah.
right. No, that's interesting. Means yes, everybody talks about one of the important part of getting the Hack October is also these swags that you get. Means in form of that Hack October T-shirts and some stickers and other parts. But even if you are not able to get the swags, try to participate because that is going to give you a lot of exposure to a lot of technologies. So that would be my take. Means this time I didn't find a time to even check the Hack October website and what the new initiative they have brought in. So because of my work, I was not able to see those things. But yeah, any other thing that I can help you and answer with? Yeah.
Anyone have any kind of doubts, then you can add it in the chat box. Feel free to ask any kind of doubts related to open source, and and the mentors will surely answer them. So feel free to do so. I think anyone there are no doubts as of now, but we can wait till the end. Now I'll ask Tanmay uh, to invite the guest of the session. Tanmay.
Okay, so everyone, we have two guests at our side right now. One is Aishika S. Bhattacharya and the other is Shivansh Tiwari. Please unmute your mics and say hello to everyone. Then I'll give you introductions. Aishika.
Hey folks.
So Aishika here is an MLH coach or a major league hacking coach. She is also a Alexa student influencer. You can check her ID out at LinkedIn. And the other one with us today is Shivansh Tiwari. He's a GSOC mentor. He has been a GSOC volunteer and a student as well in the last year. And right now he is an engineer at Udaan.com. So Shivansh, can you say hello to everyone here? I hope I'm audible to Shivansh.
Let me just call him once. I think there is some problem from his end. Till then, Ashika, you can start. You can share your experiences.
Hey, am I audible? Is?
Yeah, you
Yeah,
are.
you are now. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, my internet got disconnected.
So Ashika, you can take over now.
Well, greetings of the day, everyone. I am elated to join you all today. So, well, Gaurav sir has pretty much already summed up everything for me. And just give me a second. And yep, I hope that I'm audible as well as visible now. So once again, greetings, and I'm Aishika. I'm an MLH coach, and apart from that, I'm also a GitHub campus expert. I lead the official GDSC of my university at SRM Institute of Science and Technology, Kattanpulathur, and yeah, I also represent Alexa as a student influencer. So, well, I'm just going to share my journey with open source development, and I'm going to clear some common, misconceptions around the world of open source development, as well as Hacktoberfest. Even though you folks are going to have a session dedicatedly, for the same event. So, I hope that I'm audible and you're comfortable with my pace. Can anyone please acknowledge that?
Yes,
Yes,
you are
ma'am.
perfectly audible. So
Awesome.
don't worry about that.
Awesome. So, well, I'll just share my personal journey with open source development. And see, majority of us get started with open source development to get swags. Okay, and I am not going to lie to you guys. I started off with open source development to get swags. I tried to participate in Hacktoberfest with absolutely zero knowledge about the projects that I was contributing to. I did not even think about reading the documentation of the projects that I was contributing to. Many of us think that maybe fixing documentation errors is all what Hacktoberfest is all about. But it's the main agenda of Hacktoberfest is to promote the love for open source development, to actually code things out instead of just fixing documentations. Many of us miss that out. And yeah, that's how I started off. People in my university were contributing to React. They were contributing to repositories of Jenkins, or Facebook, and Google, and many other such eminent organizations. And yeah, I felt really left out. But instead of working on my skills, I just emphasized on Swags. And then this thought just hit me, okay, and I wanted to work on my skills. I wanted to be a better developer. I really just want I kind of felt left out, I'd say. And I'm very sure that majority of us have the same feeling, at least once in our lives. So yeah, that's how I kind of realized that I need to start working on my skills. So I started participating in a lot of hackathons. I started building my own projects, and instead of being a contributor, I tried to be a maintainer for once. I came up with a lot of open source projects. I tried my level best to help future developers be better. And yeah, there are tons of resources like Good First Issues and many other that Gaurav sir has already shared with you folks. There are many programs that promote open source development, including Google Summer of Code, as well as the Outreachy program, which you all can apply to, even though I don't think they're accepting more applications at the moment. But please do consider participating in open source programs to gain knowledge out of the programs, and don't think about swags. I mean, yeah, that's my personal experience. And whenever you're contributing to a project, please read the documentation, see if they are accepting contributors. Don't waste your time, and I guess that's pretty much it from my end. I'm not going to take much of your time. I'll just keep this really short. And if you have any questions, any doubts about developer relations, because that's what I'm majorly focusing on at the moment, and not exactly development, please feel free to reach out to me. And the chat section is open for any doubts or queries that you folks may have. I would love to have an interactive session with all of you. So if you want to unmute, you can do that too. And yeah, let's just have a good discussion instead of a one-way speech. So yeah, that's pretty much it from my end. I'm just going to drop my LinkedIn handle in the chat section. So if you guys want to check out my work, you can do that too. And that's pretty much it. Thank you for your time. If you have any questions, please feel free to spam the chat section in the meantime.
Thank you, Ashika.
Yeah.
We'll wait for some time so that students can ask question in the chat section. Till then, I will invite Shivansh Tiwari to share his experience. Shivansh?
Yeah, hey, I hope I'm audible.
Yes.
Perfectly audible.
All right. So, hello everybody. I'm really happy to join you guys here. My name is Shivansh Tiwari, and I was a GSOC student in 2019 and a mentor for the same in 2020. And currently, basically, I'm working with Udan as a product engineer. So, yeah, the mentors have already covered a lot of things in this panel. So, what I would like to talk about is basically what exactly are the steps to get into these kind of programs, what exactly you should expect from these programs, and how you should utilize them to actually form your career as a software engineer, right? So I think you all already know about the basics of open source, so I won't get much into that. But how GSOC and Outreachy and other programs work right, are that initially you will always feel that these programs are very overwhelming, right? The code bases are very huge and all of that. So always remember one thing, that once you have made your first contribution, right, then things already start falling into their place. So if I talk about my journey, so I contributed to a organization known as MeFOS, and it is basically a fintech solution for people who don't have banking services, right? So my initial contribution was just to adjust a button at the top bar of the Android of the phone, right? So that is a very small modification. It was just around 2 or 3 lines of changes in the code. But how it helped me was basically just to even make those 2 3 lines of changes, I had to go through all the documentations of the organization. I had to talk to all the mentors. I kind of understood what is the feedback cycle of the organization, right? So in that sense, once you have started contributing, once you are taking those baby steps, that is solely going to help you to start contributing on some major changes, right? Nobody's going to give you a very major work at the very beginning. You need to take those baby steps. So one thing is that you don't have to get overwhelmed by all of that, because yeah, everybody is a beginner at the starting, everybody is just learning. And now if we talk about what this event adds up to your profile, or how it actually shapes your career as a software engineer, is I'll just give an example that my mentor, the guy who I was working with, was a very experienced Android developer. You can look him up. His name is Naman Dwivedi, and he was the guy who actually created the official Android app of Prime Minister's office. Right. So he was actually working. So if you even go back to the startups of 2016, 17, he was contributing to a lot of them. So just this example I'm giving you to tell you how important it is to get into these events, and what kind of people you are working with. Like I was working with people who are already in the industry for like 18 to 20 years. There are some people who are so enthusiastic about open source that they keep on contributing whenever they get time, right? So you get to learn a lot from them, because the projects that you create in your college versus the kind of work that you have to do with these systems, with these huge code bases, all the deployments and everything, that is an entirely different space. And even when I joined Udan as a product engineer, I realized that I always have that heads up, and that heads up is always because of the experience that I got from GSOC, right? So yeah, everybody is going to talk about all the incentives, all the money and all the fame that you're going to get, but ahead of that, I think what's important is the culture that you are going to build there, the kind of relationships that you're going to build there. So just for an example, I actually sat with Naman for 6 hours and debugged one issue. So in that 6 hours, the kind of learning that I got, and it's not always about the technical things, right? It's not about somebody is teaching you any kind of tech stack or something. It's about how to actually approach a problem, how to actually solve a problem, and how you should maintain your code base and all of those things, right? So they are going to, so basically one argument for this is that I can get that kind of experience in a company also. So why I should go for such kind of events, right? So the thing is, the stakes are not that much high in those kind of events. You are a beginner, you are expected to learn, and you are expected to grow, but those bonds that you create on while working on those projects are going to stay with you for the lifetime. Like I'm still in touch with my mentors, I'm still in touch with my org leads. So yeah, that is something that you should always look forward to, and like always remember that you always have to start with some initial steps, right? You don't have to like jump directly into the big guns. So yeah, like that's all I wanted to cover after what has already been covered by the mentors. So any questions if you have around these kind of events, I would love to answer. And yeah, I'll also drop my LinkedIn. If you have any kind of questions around product development, software development and all, then you can freely reach out to me. Any question or anything that anybody wants to ask? Feel free to open your mic.
Can you
Yeah.
comment on the resumes we need to have before we apply to this big game?
To what? Apply to what? Sorry.
Like GSOC.
So see, okay, I'll walk you through on what the process of getting selected into GSOC is, right? So it's not about your resume. The two things that are mainly considered while you are getting selected into GSOC is one, your existing contributions to the project or the organization, and second is your report that you're going to create. So they basically expect you to create a proposal. So mainly what happens is just before GSOC, all these organizations are going to publish a list of problem statements that they are going to work upon. So for every project, they will have some listed ideas that, okay, in this GSOC, we are going to focus on that. And your job is to create a kind of a document in which you are actually telling them that what exactly are you going to do, how are you going to solve that problem, what is going to be the timeline of your solutions, and what have been your existing contributions, right? So there are some organizations in which there's no weightage given to existing contributions also, but there are only 2 or 3 such organizations like that. So don't rely completely on your proposal. Just I'll suggest all of you to go to the GSOC website and see the kind of problem statements that they publish. But again, the most important thing is the contribution that you are making. Like from my college this year, there was a guy who is in first year and he got selected into GSOC. So CV and your resume doesn't matter at all when you are talking about all these kind of events. It's just about how familiar you are with the code base. Because see, if I am a code maintainer, then I'll expect somebody to join me and then like quickly get into the things that I want to do. Right? I don't want to waste 1 out of 2 months from my GSOC period just to make him understand the code base. So it's just a basic psychology that they will always prefer somebody who is already familiar with the code base. So if you have made some good contributions, and even by good contributions, I don't mean very huge contributions, but some small quality contributions that reflect key you have set up the project, you have already navigated through the project. Because like the most of the time whenever we encounter a new code base is taken while navigating through the code, right? What exactly is the flow of the code, how is the code flowing and all of that. So yeah, those are the 2 major things that are required for research. Raghav has a question. In these competitions, do we have to do solving problems coding like CodeChef and Codeforces? No, Raghav, it's not like that. So what CodeChef and Codeforces tell you to do is basically they give you a limited set of time, and in that limited set of time you have to basically solve a given problem, right? But when you participate in these kind of events, it's not a given problem with a given test case. It's an iterative solution to a given problem statement. So just to give a context, my problem statement was that like you guys must be familiar about servers, right? So whenever there are 2 deployments of servers, the payments were not happening among the servers. So this is the kind of problem that you have to solve. You have to get involved with the team. You have to design the solutions. You have to basically see what environment you are working on, of what is feasible, what is not feasible, and then you have to kind of come to a common solution, right? So it's not like a competitive environment. Anything else? Feel free to ask anything. Just don't shy away. Even if you have a very random question about how these things work, what exactly goes on. Yeah. GSOC have organizations connect to it, but how do we know which organization select how many students? So yeah, this is one thing that always boils down to your luck. So basically how it happens is you can see the track record of which organization has selected how many students. So it doesn't change very frequently, but yeah, I have seen some cases where the organization applied for like 20 students and Google only allowed them 14 or 15 seats, right? So that's why they give you an option to actually fill 3 proposals. So for every organization or for every project, you can even apply those 3 proposals to a same organization. But for every problem statement, so there is an official problem statement that is published on the Google's website, right? And for every problem statement, you can submit 1 proposal, and there are going to be total 3 proposals. So I'll just share a quick tip with you guys. If you are going to approach GSOC, how you should go ahead with that is, see, if you are applying for your proposal, then you have to start contributing 3 or 4 months prior to that. Obviously, right? You can't just expect कि एक हफ्ते पहले करेंगे and हो जाएगा. So for that, just keep one organization in your focus, and you are really confident about that organization. That okay, I have contributed good enough in that, and it's most probably going to select me if there is nothing which is unavoidable. Then your second organization should be something in the middle, that you are familiar with the code base, you are familiar with the people, but there is nothing like of that sort. You haven't like made 40-50 PRs in that organization. And then for third organization, what I did was I just picked a random organization. Nobody was contributing to that, and I just added a proposal with my problem with my solution. So that also helps sometimes. So it's never clear that how many students an organization is going to select. The best way possible is to get involved with the community, ask them what they are expecting out of GSOC this time, how many slots are they going to apply for, and then like always, of course, like see the track record of the organization. If you see, for example, MIFOS, then MIFOS is generally selecting MIFOS is generally selecting like 10 to 12 students every year. So you have to always see the track record and then pray that you get selected. No, Neeraj. So, like, one thing is when you talk about competitive coding, right? So there are two aspects. One is whether you are able to write a good quality code or not, whether you are able to write optimized quality code or not, right? So even if you are working on a product, they are not going to allow you to write a kind of code which is taking 10 or 20 seconds to give a response, right? So of course, basically I don't understand why the competitive coding is distinguished in this way. So competitive coding, when you talk about all the concepts that are taught to you for the placements and everything, that is not required for these kind of events. But of course you have to maintain that set of quality of code. You have to maintain the optimized code quality, right? You have to make sure that you are using some data structures or you are using some algorithms to solve your problem. So they're not going to give you test cases and all of that and just see the green ticks and okay, now you're selected. It's not going to happen like that. But yeah, of course, the crux of competitive coding, that is again to make sure that you are able to write optimized code, write quality code, is always going to be there. Which skills are required for open source? Like I don't think there is a fixed set of like the golden list which you require for open source. But yeah, if I talk about some specific skills, they are like, you should know about Git, of course, because Git is going to be used in every organization which you join, whether they are working on GitHub or GitLab. Then you have to know about the tech stack of the project that they are working on. So for example, my organization works on Android, web, front end, machine learning, and blockchain. So whichever project you are picking, you have to be familiar with the tech stack of that project. And then of course you need to know how to contribute, what are, so basically the skills of building a software, right? How it happens is, once you have developed the project, once you have developed the product, then you are already familiar about how you have to write the code. So if you're writing backend on Kotlin, or if you're writing backend on, let's say, Flask, it's not going to change much. The whole flow, the whole skill that you need to learn is just revolving around how you should like approach that problem. Like agar, if I have written my backend code once in Kotlin, then all I need to do is just get familiar with the syntax of the Flask, and all other things are going to be same. You have to like understand the architecture. I'll suggest you guys to go into the architecture of how the codes are written, because see, when you are working on your college project, there are only 2 or 3 people working, right? So agar kuch samajh mein nahi aaya, then you call the person and you ask how this was written. But when you are working in a company or when you are working in an organization, there are thousands of people contributing on the same code base, right? So even if you are pulled out of that project, you have to make sure that your code remains inside that project. And for that, you have to make sure that you adhere to the system that they are following. You have to make sure that your code is scalable, your code is readable, and like it's intuitive. You need to make sure that your code is intuitive. But if you are contributing in an organization which have a potential to be selected, but unfortunately it doesn't. Yeah, I accept that. This is the case that has happened with a few people, but like okay, this kind of boils down to your luck, and that's why you have 3 shots, right? So like you will be really unlucky if all the 3 organizations that you are applying on, you're not selected because of this reason. So I have seen very close friends of mine getting rejected for this kind of reason. But yeah, see, it's not always about getting selected also, right? When you are cloning that huge code base inside your system, and when you are contributing slowly to that system, then you are already building a lot of skills that you won't ever be building without such kind of projects, right? This is always the key, that whenever you are reading somebody else's code, now whenever you are contributing to somebody else's code, you always learn something, you always grasp something. So even if you are not selected, like in my organization, there was a guy who got selected this year, and last year he wasn't selected because of the same reason. So if your major goal is to learn something, then this is like, of course you are going to miss out on the experience. I'm not saying that, but yeah, it's not a complete waste. It's always going to help you a little bit. And I'll invite other mentors also to join the conversation, please. as a fresher in any kind of job, is it necessary to be best in everything or have sufficient? Definitely, yes, sufficient knowledge is enough. Like, nobody is going to expect that you are going to just rewrite their whole system or you are going to know everything when you are joining, right? Whenever you join a company, whenever you join a startup or something, there will be people who are going to guide you there. So there is this new system in these startups called as buddy system. So whenever you join a company, there is a buddy assigned to you, and you just annoy the hell out of that buddy. Okay, you ask him everything, and his job is to actually help you with that. So yeah, like, a couple of months or 3-4 months are always given to you to get familiar with the system, to get to know everything, because everybody was a fresher once now. So they of course understand how things work. Nobody is expecting you to be a genius whenever you join. How to make good proposal for GSOC, and how is it possible to provide timeline about how you're going to solve a particular thing? Yeah. So how to make proposal with GSOC? I'll give me a minute. I'll share my proposal with you guys. Till then, if there are any other questions or if anybody wants to add anything, then you guys can, for sure. Hello. Hello.
Okay, so if anybody have any questions related to MLH as a community or Red Hat or related to Linux, then you can ask particular mentors also. If you want to ask about GSOC, we have Shivansh also. So feel free to ask questions, as it is a very golden opportunities for you as well and for us also. Okay, so feel
Sir,
free to ask questions.
sir, hello.
Yeah. Deepas, can
Yes,
ask you.
sir. I want to ask that if I have to aim for next year's GSOC, is it too late or I'm in time?
Actually, I'm not very familiar. When are they starting the program? Have they changed the timeline?
They are not
It's in
released
around
yet,
May.
but it's kind of around like March students are
Yeah. Then
applying.
you are not late at all. I started my contributions at December end, I think. Yeah. In December end, I was introduced to this organization by one of my seniors. So if you see,
Okay,
even after December, yeah. Sorry.
I want to add some questions as well. So,
Mhm.
what should be my? I'm kind of interested in like JavaScript. So, what should be my level to start? Means before contributing.
Mm, so, like, have you built any kind of projects yet? Like, what is your current experience?
Uh, I have learned all the basics kind. I've started last month. So.
Okay. So your level, if I talk about the level that is required, is basically, see, if you are just a complete beginner, then I'll definitely recommend you to kind of build some of the projects by yourself. Because, see, it's not about only learning about the terms, right? It's not about learning about the tech. The most important skill that is required when you join these kind of events is basically, if you are able to navigate through the code, if you are able to pinpoint the where that particular features code is written, and if you are able to understand the whole flow of it, right? So if you just see a random website, whatever data you are seeing in that website, that data is being fetched from a lot of services, from a lot of systems, right? So, like, as you said, you are interested in JavaScript. So
Yeah,
uh, have you worked with backend, front end, or something?
yeah, front end. I've begun with front end.
Okay. So, like, if you have worked with front end, then you must have used some APIs or something like that, right? So,
Yes.
what's important for you is to kind of build that intuitive nature and build that understanding of how a JavaScript code is written, right? Because the bugs, the features that you have to build in these projects, you will have to integrate your code with an existing ongoing code. So if that code is very overwhelming for you, then at that moment you might like drop off from that project, right? So the kind of skill that is required is somewhere around that you are able to build a standalone project of your own, which has, like, see, if you go to Medium or if you go to any kind of like cheat sheet kind of things, then they are going to give you some of the basic concepts that are required for, like for front end. If you see, then you need to know about how to make the UI components, then you need to know about the like the forms and how you have to integrate API, how you have to make asynchronous calls and all of that. So yeah, these words will sound very overwhelming, but once you go through them, the concepts are very easy. So even one thing that I am a huge believer in is that you always learn as you go ahead with the project, right? So whenever
Okay.
you are approaching a particular like issue or something, then don't think that I am not capable enough to do that. Just pick that problem statement, think what are the things required to solve that particular problem statement. You don't have to be a JavaScript god to get into GSOC or something like that. Yeah. So just
Can I
just
achieve this kind of level in a month or two if I work seriously?
yeah, definitely you can. Why not? But again, see, Deep, it's not about the time. It's not about कि एक महीने में हो जाएगा कि नहीं, 2 महीने में हो जाएगा कि नहीं. It's always about what is your discipline level, how smartly you are working, and how relevant things you are looking into, right? अगर अगर तुम एक ही पर्टिकुलर चीज को लेके बैठे रहोगे फॉर 2 months, है ना, इनसाइड जावास्क्रिप्ट ओनली, देन इट्स नॉट गोइंग टू वर्क. सो the discussion is generally not around the time period. The discussion is generally around how you are approaching those things, right? What exactly is your approach, how you are solving those problems. तो हाँ, अगर तुम relevant चीजें सीख रहे हो, अगर तुम एक डिसिप्लिन तरीके से you are actually building those things by your own, then definitely 1-2 months is more than enough to get into that kind of level.
I'm
Like
afraid that we
I'll
will
just
now have to interrupt in between. The timings of the sessions were from 4 to 5, and now the time limit has exceeded. Now I will invite our GDSC lead, Shruti Sharma, to end this session. We will be providing all of you with the LinkedIn IDs of all the mentors, and you can ask your questions there. Shruti?
Yeah, so actually, the thing is, if you have any questions, you can reach out to them as well. We will share their LinkedIn IDs also. And this session is recorded, so you will get the recordings on our site. It is free, you can check them out. Okay, so we will host every recording in there after the series ends. So feel free to do so. Feel free to go there and check them out. Secondly, thank you so much, Gaurav Sharma, Shivansh Tiwari, as well as Ashika S. Bhattacharya for taking the time from your busy schedule to be a part of this session. Uh, I hope it has added some value to the participants, especially the beginners who want to start their journey in open source, and hope we have cleared or they have cleared your doubts regarding open source as you were seeing it all over the LinkedIn and everywhere, right? So thank you, Gaurav. Thank you, Shivansh. Thank you, Ashika, for being a part of the session. If you have any things that you want to say, then you can do so.
Hey, thank you so much, everyone. What a day. I was listening to both the fellow mates of mine, and I was remembering my college days that, these programs always help you to stay motivated, stay more connected, and aware that there is something going beyond your work as well. So yes, we do have the limitation of the time, but nevertheless, it's all about open source. Reach out to me for any help that I can be the part of. And thank you so very much again, the team of like Google Developer Student Call of DCE for organizing this Source September, so that people can get into the Hack October with that strategy that, okay, now we can merge some PRs. But always again, as we all have been emphasizing, it's not about participation, it's not about swags, it's all not about money, all about its community. At the end of the day, it's all about open source. Open source should win and never ever compete. It's all about collaboration. Be open to ask the questions and reach out to us for any help. And thank you so much for inviting me for the session. Thank you so much.
Has been a very insightful session. Thank you so much for being a part of it. If Ashika, you want to say something, you can do so. And then we can end the session.
Well, hey again. Thank you so much for having me here today, and I'd love to assist you guys in a better manner. So do connect with me over LinkedIn, and I'll try my level best to help you all be better developers. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So thank you so much for the opportunity.
Shivansh, is there anything you want to say?
Yeah, just that, like, congrats to all of you guys for organizing this kind of event. Like I'll say that I also started with this kind of event only, so of course this is going to help the students a lot. And yeah, it was a great experience to join you guys here. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. Well, I have shared all the links of their IDs, their LinkedIn IDs in the chat section, so you can reach out to them. And lastly, I'm thanking you again. Hopefully, this series will add some value in the life of students who are beginners, especially. That's all from my side. You will get the recordings on our site. I will share the link of the site once again. You can check the site after the series end. You can check the site on 2nd October and you will get all the recordings for the sessions. All 3 sessions also be a part also. Is someone speaking?
Please keep your mics on the mute.
If you have any doubts, you can add it in the chat section. Okay, you will get the recordings on our site, so don't worry about that. And that's all from my side. Thank you so much. Now you can start leaving.